Hello traders, this is my morning video. I'm going to start out with, I think we're passing through peak volatility. We did have a contract row on the front month VIX futures Friday. And as of right now, we are backtesting the 20 SMA on our VIX, suggesting that, come on. Suggesting that we might have actually, we might be losing some steam on the volatility front. We don't have a squeeze going on the 1 hour here, suggesting the upside pressure for volatility increases is going to be muted, in my opinion. And so just something to take away here on our volatility that we might be crossing over. And what you do on your VX, you go on your trade grid, and then you go out in time, like your VX20. This here Friday was marking 60. And if you notice that it's coming in here on that, and then you just check those charts out as well, and to give you a comparison, and to give you an idea how the volatility is pricing into the future. And as you can see here, now these contracts didn't roll off, of course, but as of Friday and Monday, so far we're coming in on our volatility. So this is something we want to keep in watch here. What we really need to see before a turn in these markets is us on these longer dated VIX contracts to start testing and possibly breaking this 20 SMA on the longer dated. So we're still by no means out of the woods, but something to keep in mind going forward here on your trading. And then you have your VX. Pull that up again. And if you go out, that was your 60 days out. So if you go out your 90 days out, that'll be your June contracts. And copy that. And basically, the longer the date, if we can start seeing, well, come on. If we can start seeing, see, that's June. Okay, VX M20, yeah. Okay. And we want to start seeing the longer dated fixed contracts starting to break this 20 SMA. And so far, we're not seeing that. So we're by no means out of the woods. But the good thing is we don't have a squeeze going on, suggesting pressure, significant pressure to the upside. So that's one little takeaway on these VIX futures. So keep that in mind going forward here. So the unfortunate part about the VIX contracts, I've gone all the way out to November on all these contracts, and not a single one is crossing back below the 20 SMA yet. So that's a really bad takeaway for these markets going out into the future, that there's a lot of fear and stuff and anxiety in these markets that does not seem to be pricing in even the remotest short-term reversion in these markets. So something to really keep in mind going forward here in your trading, that this is a systemic change to the trend, and it's very, very unlikely we see a major uptrend, bullish uptrend in these markets. Well, we're continuing the Dow 1,000-point up and down swings today. We marked above the bull bear downtrend line, which turned out to be another shorting opportunity for this morning. But so far, we are limit down. We aren't marking further lows in the markets. So I guess that's one positive takeaway in the markets if you're trying to find the smallest sliver of good news. The Qs are worse. We're further away from that bullish bearish trend line on the Qs. We are limit down below this secondary trend line. Value was put up here in this higher range. Even all the inventory yesterday is getting completely rejected to the downside on the Qs. This is a problem child, of course, but we are building out a base slowly but surely on the Qs until we're proven otherwise. And we do have a little bit better construction, in my opinion, on the Russell. It seems to be we got this downtrend line on the Russell, and keep this in mind here. It looks like we're going to be opening at or above that downtrend line, potentially causing a short squeeze in the elements of the Russell this morning. So something to keep that in mind here, that our energy space could squeeze uh, under this circumstance, and possibly some of our regional banks. So something to keep in watch going into today's trading, that the Russell might be setting up for a short squeeze into this morning's session. So we'll see what happens as the day goes on. But we are limit down on the Russell as well. So once that opens, we could just completely crash down. And we do have, you see our Venom lines. We have a lot of risk on these Venom lines. It's not supportive of price, so we can just come crashing down to the prior lows on our Russell. So that is a problem child for today's session. And giving the price action so far this morning, I would say 70-30 odds we're going lower on the Russell on the open. So keep that in mind going into your session. Inventory was accepted near the high a day range yesterday, but so far this morning, that's the situation we got set up in the price action in these markets. Okay, the highest volume on our futures, that's our bonds. We are coming off a 2 standard deviation sell-off signal in our bonds early this morning. And we are starting a downtrend on the 1 hour for the bonds. Maybe the peak bond money rolling into bonds might have peaked out short term here. But it does look like we are catching a little bid. The uptrend is still intact for our bonds. We are testing the bottom end of the range for the bonds as we speak this morning. So something to keep on watch here going forward here, that we might actually be, if we start seeing marking further lows this morning in the bonds, it might mark some bullish action in these markets going forward into today's session. But so far, like I said, we are a 2 standard deviation already, suggesting it's more likely we're going to squeeze higher on our bonds, putting further pressure on the markets. Just my takeaway on what's going on here. And then also on the percent losses, crude's really taking it on the chin. We're down to below $26 on our crude this morning. That supports also, that is going to put additional pressure on the Russell this morning. But we are at a 2 standard deviation also, and on our crude oil, suggesting that the selling pressure might be hard to continue to push lower in today's session on our crude. Something to keep on watch going forward. But we are in a solid downtrend, of course, on our crude oil. So the shorts might get squeezed on our crude going into the open of this session. So keep that in mind. Anytime I see a 3 standard deviation sell off, then I'm actually looking for reversion on the 1 hour short squeeze reversions, in my opinion. So something to keep in mind going forward here in the markets. So the energy space itself is probably going to put pressure on the Russell this morning, but we don't have a squeeze scenario forcing prices to break below Bollinger Bands. We do so that suggests to me that we can revert higher on the Russell with a less crude down pressure today. Okay, some takeaways here. S&Ps, we were hitting 1.5 million shares, around 7 o'clock yesterday morning, and we're less than 500,000 shares this morning. Major difference in volume on the markets. So to me, the S&Ps are coming into what I seem to be a downtrend, potential downtrend change today. So something to keep on watch here, and the volumes. The bears don't seem to be in a hurry to get out of their positions. And but the volumes are suggesting to me that there's complacency at this price point, even though we might potentially have a trend change. So keep that in mind today. Look at this. We're still, uh, the Qs are still 1/3 the volume of the S&Ps, and that's not really supportive of a healthy market, in my opinion. And of course, USO is really taking it on the chin so far this morning, but it really looks like USO is going to potentially rally from the open, in my opinion, going forward in today's session. Okay, my morning volume scan. As you can see, Tesla is leading the pack to the downside, followed by Apple. Very muted volume so far this morning, even worse than we're looking really bad here. So on the volume side, so you can't really take too much away from the volumes this morning, suggesting that we're going to have a slow start in today's session. And then on our S&Ps, similar situation. GE, a lot of talk today about relief packages for Boeing suppliers, and Boeing is really taken to the woodshed today, really getting pummeled in the morning session on Boeing. So something to keep in mind going forward here in your trading today in the session. Okay, so critical watch for today. That is our XLF. I mean, we are pushing down beyond the 2 standard deviation. We're marking price down below that. So something that I'm really wanting to keep on watch going forward here. So we're marking, right through here. Basically, the past couple of days we have been going sideways. I do want to see this thing to support in these price ranges. We do have a little bit of a squeeze going on here on our financials. That's also worrisome going forward into today's session. So I'm really keeping a close eye on our financials going forward here as a potential selling force in these markets. So something I really want to point out here going forward. And to make it a little bit clearer, this was yesterday's value on our financials, and we are marking completely away from value range lows right here, right now on the price action on our financials. And like I said, we do have very light volumes this morning, but this is something that is the takeaway from this here is that we might be crashing down here, retesting the prior lows from Monday's lows in our financials. So this is something I really want to keep on watch going forward. Bank of America, we're at value area lows from yesterday. So that's something to keep on watch. It wasn't doing quite as bad as some of these others. We have JP Morgan. JP Morgan already back to yesterday's lows right here, right now, potentially breaking through yesterday's lows on JP Morgan. Citi, I think, is already marking new lows. Yes, Citi's breaking down this morning, so that's something to be aware of. Wells Fargo, at least it's not breaking down yet on Wells Fargo. But Citigroup is giving us a warning sign going into today's session of some things that are happening in this market. Okay, keep that in mind for our financials. They're putting us some warning signs in the morning session, in my opinion. Then we have our Boeing breaking down. Here we are, right back down to Monday's lows on our Boeing, getting completely rocked in the morning session hours. So something to keep and watch for your Boeing going forward here. Tesla marking new lows. Okay, we are breaking the Monday lows on Tesla, suggesting we're going to start a continuation trend breakdown further on Tesla going into today's session. Which other ones we're breaking down? Intel. Broke out of value. Well, at least it's not marking new lows. So that's the one takeaway here that I'm seeing on that one. We do have Micron reporting after hours tonight, so we should probably maintain some sort of resemblance to a bid in our semiconductors. Under that circumstance, we are still within inside of the range here. So that's a takeaway here, that going into Micron's numbers, we might actually The semis might actually outperform a little bit here, but look where Micron's marking here. We're right back to the Monday, Tuesday lows. Now here we are going into earnings, and that's 3 days in a row that we're marking right down here near the lows going into earnings from Micron. Okay, is it Facebook? There was one of these things marking new lows below Mondays. Yeah, Facebook. We are right here, right now, marking below um, yesterday's lows on Facebook, suggesting a continuation pattern setting up here for Facebook. Something to keep and watch going forward here. Okay, another one, Apple. And this really gets me mad on Apple. You know, I so wanted to be short Apple, and wouldn't you know this, doing this? Ugh. So Apple, I think we are going to be testing the gap, at least testing the gap, if not feeling the gap today. So at the very least, I think we're going to be coming down to the 230, 250. This suggests even more downside pressure in this market this morning. So that is my number one takeaway for the Qs, that Apple has a pattern that needs to be resolved going into this morning session, putting additional pressure to the downside on these markets to open the trading session. Amazon's holding up well. Anything below 1690 is a buy scenario, and so far this morning it is marking above that 1690 area. So unfortunately, we might get a second time attempt to get back into Apple later this morning, but after or not Apple, Amazon. But so far it's not given us any type of entry at this point in time. And then Microsoft has been sort of range bound. It's something that's, digest. It's in a accumulation zone, in my opinion, for Microsoft, and we're still inside that accumulation zone, in my opinion. Kind of fading outside of the accumulation zone actually this morning, with that increased pressure from Apple. So it's going to be fading definitely back, most definitely down to the 135.06 area if Apple continues the reset in today's session. Then we have Gilead, which has been quite active, right up here near the weekly highs, and a little bit of selling pressure along with the markets. It does, to me, look like if the markets are on the sell signal, that Gilead is going to be coming back into the 69 area. It's been sideways chopping for quite some time now as well. And so something to keep and watch for the downside for Gilead. GE. GE is active this morning, one of the most active on the S&Ps, talking about the aid package for Boeing suppliers from the federal government. Something to keep in mind going forward here. But it looks like the Boeing suppliers are all in a pinch, and munition was talking, if they don't get an immediate aid package out of the federal government, we are potentially facing a 20% unemployment rate here in the next few months. So something to definitely keep on mind. I know from a personal standpoint, this time of year I typically go back to work. I'm a seasonal layoff guy, and I run and manage two of my aunt and my uncle's businesses. They have two different businesses, and I manage them both. And I'm telling you right now, we are getting cancellations like you cannot believe. I would just a month ago, I was amazed how much booking we were doing, and now everybody's delaying the our work. People do not want under the current environment. They don't want other people on their property potentially spreading the virus, and so they're delaying to later July on a lot of these contracts. So my guys are calling me, "Are we getting back to work?" And I said, "Hey, we can't." So even with myself, I'm actually first time in years. I take a winter layoff and stuff, but this is the first time that I'm actually going in and filing for some unemployment benefits. Just for the simple fact, I don't think we're going to be back to work till the 1st of June under the current circumstances. So just something to keep in from a personal note, what I'm seeing going on here in this market. So, okay. That's pretty much all I've got here. I am going to leave additional comments at the bottom of the video. You might want to check back through here into the morning, into the opening session, some news headlines or something like that that might be driving some critical stocks. Like this morning, I didn't actually check the headlines out on the price actions yet. So like a Tesla and stuff like that, if there's breaking news and stuff, I'm going to add it in the comment section below the video. Okay. Like the video if you like it, and add your additional comments below if you feel like it. If you see some news items or something. And thanks a lot for watching my videos. Hopefully they're helping you guys out. Thanks.